I like when we have guests in studio. It's fun. That's what we have for you now. Joan Greene, joining me, congressional candidate in Arizona's 5th District, running against Andy Biggs, who's a Republican. Joan, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Thank you very much for having us.
You're actually physically in the headquarters of Rebels.
I love it. I love it.
So let's talk about your race.
Okay.
I hear you're concerned about corruption.
I'm very concerned about corruption. I am building it on corruption. He has spent 16 years. He has hurt our, and now he's hurting our country because of his corruption.
So I'm deeply concerned about corruption, so I love it when anybody brings that up. I think the whole system's corrupt. That's a separate conversation we'll have in a second. Biggs himself, though, how is he involved in corruption?
He has never met a lobbyist he doesn't like. And none of this is my saying. This is everything that people have documented and said. More articles on his corruption. When the guy doesn't put a bill through to not have gifts from lobbyists, where he's part of the ALEC family, so to speak, we know he's corrupt. His donors are the Koch boys. Right now they're having a corruption on the water thing. Everybody in the Johnson utility case right now, he knows intimately. They've worked on his campaign. They've worked in his office.
What case is that?
That is where Johnson Utilities was taking the water, and that's the big corruption there. So,
is he a witness in that case?
So he's a witness in there. So it was Johnson's, and they took money and they were funneling it through to the married couples, and the lobbyists were involved. So it's just this convoluted thing. But yet at the same time, the Johnson water isn't providing enough water for the people that they said they would. All this happens when he's part of the legislation that he was as a Senate president.
Okay, well, I like anybody fighting against corruption. So what would you do about it? Other than putting Andy Biggs into retirement?
Yes.
If you were in Congress, how would you fight to get money out?
Well, my first law that I would do that nobody would agree with, but my first piece of legislation that I would say was that if anything affects your family in a financial means positively, and that's your grandchildren, it's your cousins, that better be your third cousin all the way down, you may not support a bill, you may not bring up a bill, you may not vote on a bill. And that should stop some of that.
Yeah, and you'd be shocked at how often that happens. In the old days, Norm Coleman, who was a senator from Minnesota, his wife got a huge contract, Orrin Hatch's son has gotten rich, let alone the Trump family, et cetera. So the reason that Joan says nobody would sign on to it other than Bernie Sanders and all the progressives is because they're like, well, I want my family members to be rich.
Right.
Right, so that's why they wouldn't do it. Oh, the system is so corrupt in Washington. Okay. Now let's talk about things related to Biggs that are not related to corruption.
Okay.
So did he really vote for a pro-silencer gun bill?
Yeah, he did. He's one of the sponsors of that. And in the moment of Vegas, one of the worst casualties, he wants to sign on for silencers and armor-piercing bullets.
I thought the Republicans said Blue Lives Matter. Why would they want people to have silencers? And more important than that even, I mean, silencers are basically for assassins.
Right.
But armor-piercing bullets, the only people wearing armor are the cops.
Yeah, that's the first responders are down right then. That's the first people who are going to get hurt because there's no other reason for them. Regarding the silencers, with all the casualties that we have, it would be a whole lot worse if they couldn't hear the sound of the bullet.
Yeah, imagine if any of these massacres that are happening, if they didn't even know to run for a long time because the guy came in with a silencer.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally trying to make massacres easier, especially in this day and age where it's nonstop school shooting after school shooting, massacre after massacre. Again, what is that? That's corruption. If the gun manufacturers, as represented by the NRA, don't give you money, no one in their right mind would say, yeah, we should sell armor-piercing bullets to make sure we can kill cops, right?
You know, and it's an interesting thing because he can be bought for so little, $2,000.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
I mean, it's amazing.
Joan, you're
that,
absolutely right.
It takes nothing.
When I found out how easy it is to buy politicians, I was shocked.
Right?
Because I expected there to be like millions upon millions of dollars, and sometimes there is. But oftentimes it's just $2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so cheap and despicable.
Yeah.
Anyway, but at least he's for education, right?
Well, it depends. If you're the Koch brothers and charter schools, then yes, he is. But the charter schools without transparency, which is the problem. So no, he's not. In fact, he's gutting our education. We are, thanks to him and his cronies, we are the bottom of the barrel in education, but we happen to be the top in Arizona political corruption. I think we need to flip that.
Yeah.
I think we need to flip that.
Yeah, no, and I was kidding around, guys,
Yeah, I know
because
that,
he's
yeah.
voted to abolish the Department of Education, among other things.
That's crazy, isn't it? He has no idea what it means.
It's insanity. All right,
Yeah.
I like this. You call your volunteers ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, talk to me about that. Why do you call them ambassadors?
Because they represent not just a campaign, but they represent the community. We are the people's candidate. We are a district of 1,423 square miles. We have received petitions. We've gone out ourselves to every single one of those precincts and received a petition and talked to the people. So whether they are behind a gated $1 million mansions to our trailer parks out there, we've spoken to every single one of them. So we understand what the needs are. And we expect to represent our community. We expect to represent our state with honor, and that's what we have.
And apparently you're obsessed with food. What is that about?
Well, I'm obsessed with
At the volunteer events?
I know. Jewish. I say no more. That's what we do. We have fun and we eat.
I like that idea. But Joan, I did the same thing. When I first did my public access show like a million years ago, the only way I can get volunteers to show up was get them free pizza.
Right.
So my first sponsor ever was a pizza joint.
Well, I'd love to have a pizza joint sponsor us. Yeah. It's there's
for politicians, probably not a good idea, but I hear you.
And that's the thing is that this is serious work we're doing. We are working very hard to save lives because right now he is killing our people. He is killing our seniors. He is killing our disabled children. He wanted to stop Medicaid expansion. He would not go for chips. He is the only one of, I think there's 2 other people who voted against hurricane relief funding. Who does that? He's the only one who refused, of 3, the same Manny Moe and Jax, who wouldn't condemn genocide. That's a knee-jerk reaction. A knee-jerk reaction says, yeah, that's bad. But he just would not. He voted no to condemn that. So he's left 4,500 people to die in Puerto Rico. Those are Americans. Those are veterans. Those are our people.
Yeah, and I remember the Texas delegation. They voted against helping the New York, New Jersey area during Superstorm Sandy. And when then the hurricane hit Houston, all of a sudden they said, oh, no, we need the money, we need the help. Yeah, that's why you should maybe try empathy with your fellow man.
Right.
But unfortunately, Biggs and other Republicans are not big on that. So it says you've been a small business owner for 30 years.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what is it? What's the business?
Promotional items. Things that you put logos on that you hand out to grow your business. So it seems very small like that, but without us, we provide peace of mind. So we actually work with a lot of nonprofits, a lot of large companies that if we do not help their business grow, they don't get to have their business grow.
Okay, and I like to find one thing that is not normally on people's priority list, like single payer you have on your list, but a lot of people have that corruption. Of course, most of the folks we talk to are deeply progressive and are for fighting against that. You've got technology on the list,
Right.
So talk to me about that.
Well, it's an interesting thing because it's a double-edged sword, actually, technology. So technology is important. We need technology to move us forward. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, we need to help our people because with the automation that's going to happen, we're going to have millions of people out of business. So we need to prepare for those people, not when they're out of business, but now before they're out of business. And that's a big thing for us, is the retraining, the education, the entrepreneurship. How do we get them into their own businesses, internships?
Joan, if you're going to think ahead like that, I'm not sure you belong in Congress.
We do have the foresight.
Yes, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Automation is coming. It's going to wipe out millions of jobs. And of course, Congress, such as it is, has not planned anything for that eventuality. All right, Joan Greene, let me show everybody the links. JoanGreeneAZ.com. That's Green with an E at the end, and the AZ obviously for Arizona. And then the donation links and the volunteer links. If you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook, will always be in the description box as a link, so you can easily click on it. Joan Greene, progressive candidate in Arizona's 5th District. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.